What is SCSC tool steel? It is high carbon, high chromium tool steel. Some of this SCSC tool steel may have more than 2% carbon, with chromium content approximately 12%, along with small amounts of tungsten, chromium, tungsten, vanadium, molybdenum, etc. So apart from chromium, small amounts of tungsten, vanadium and molybdenum will also be present. As we know that these are all the carbide forming elements. So some of this SCSC2 still may have more than 2% carbon. Actually, if the carbon content is more than 2, it is called cast iron. But still, it will be kept in the category of tool steel. Why it is not termed as cast iron despite having more than 2% carbon? The reason is, as this alloying elements present in this tool steel, chromium, tungsten, vanadium, molybdenum, they have higher affinity towards carbon. So first of all, they will get reacted with carbon, and most of the carbon will be taken away to form their respective carbides. And thus, less than 2% carbon will always be available in the solid solution form. And this is the reason why, despite having more than 2% carbon, it is termed as steel and not cast iron. It is difficult to machine due to having more hardness. Their typical applications are dies, punch, shear blades, etc. Another reason is why it is not termed as cast iron. In cast iron, it must undergo an eutectic transformation, while at no stage this typical SCSC tool steel will undergo eutectic transformation. So no eutectic transformation takes place at any stage. That's why it is another reason why it will not be termed as cast iron. Hot work tool steels find applications in stamping, drawing, swaging, piercing, extruding, etc. These steels must have good strength, toughness, hardness, wear resistivity at high temperature. So, in order to have the combination of all these properties, a typical chemical composition has been selected as the carbon content will be in between 0.35 to 0.6% with approximately 5% chromium and little amount of tungsten, vanadium, molybdenum. For aluminum and magnesium die casting dies, extrusion dies, forging dies, where high toughness is required, these hot work tool steels are applied. Here the carbon content has been kept intentionally below 0.6. If you remember, this is the range of medium carbon steel, 0.35 to 0.6% carbon. If the carbon content is more than 0.6, then it will improve the hardness and wear resistivity only. And if it is less than 0.35, then it will be lacking in strength and toughness. So this is a typical carbon range with suitable amount of carbide forming elements. This particular composition has been selected to meet above all requirement, that is the combination of good strength, toughness plus hardness and wear resistivity at elevated temperature. This is about the heat treatment cycle given to the high speed tool steel HSS. A typical chemical composition of tungsten based HSS is 18% tungsten, 4% chromium and 1% vanadium along with 0.75% carbon. First of all, up to 850 centigrade temperature, it is cooled slowly from room temperature to 850 centigrade temperature. This is called primary heating or first stage heating. This heating process is performed at a very slow rate. In order to avoid the development of thermal stresses and in order to avoid the possibility of development of any kind of crack or failure. Thereafter, the heating is done rapidly up to 1250. The reason is when you do perform heating from 850 to 1250 slowly, then there is a possibility of oxidation and decarbonation. So as the temperature range is very high up to which you have to heat the HSS, that's why from 850 to 1250 you have to heat little water rapidly. This is the temperature at which almost 90% austenite and 10% primary alloy carbides which will be in the form of vanadium carbide will be present. So this is the condition of microstructure at 1250. From 1250 then it is cooled in oil bath because oil cooling is sufficient to convert austenite into martensite. So out of 90% austenite, only 60% austenite will get transformed into martensite and 30% will be retained austenite along with 10% primary carbide or vanadium carbide. 60, 30 and 10. As this 1841 HSS has got the MF temperature below 0 centigrade, and as we know that unless until the temperature is brought down to MF, the multicyclic transformation will not be over, it will not be finished because it is a temperature dependent transformation. So there are two methods by which the retained austenite can be transformed into martensite. First, you may subject it to sub-zero treatment, that is to bring down the temperature up to MF. MF temperature for this HSS is approximately minus 80 centigrade. So either immediately subject it to sub-zero treatment, or if it is not possible, some people prefer to go directly for the tempering. So at room temperature after quenching, 60% martensite, 30% retained austenite and 10% vanadium carbide will be obtained. This is the condition of microstructure after oil quenching. Now subject it to tempering. Tempering temperature is 550. So when you slowly heat it up to 550, the 60% hard and brittle martensite will get transferred into tough and tempered martensite, and out of this 30% retent austenite, the alloy carbides dissolved in this retent austenite will come out of the austenite solid solution. These are in the form of tungsten carbide, chromium carbide and vanadium carbide. Plus, low carbon, low alloy austenite will be retained. Some amount of out of this 30% retained austenite will still be in the retained state, because 100% austenite cannot be transferred into 100% martensite even after heating it up to 550 centigrade temperature in the tempering stage. Plus 10% vanadium carbide, it will remain as it is. Now from this temperature it is cooled down to room temperature. Tempered martensite, it will be as it is. Alloy carbides which have been precipitated out of this austenitic solid solution in the very fine form, it will also remain as it is. And this low carbon, low alloy austenite will get transferred into low carbon, low alloy martensite. This is the only change which will take place during the time of cooling from 550 centigrade temperature. So this precipitation of alloy carbides are responsible to improve the hardness of the tempered tool steel. Actually, after tempering, the hardness is decreased and toughness is increased. But in this case of a special treatment given to the high speed steel, we do observe that during the time of tempering, hardness is increased, and this phenomena is known as secondary hardening. Chances of cracking are more during the time of tempering due to lack of soft cushion of austenite. In case of hardening by quenching, actually the cooling rate is very fast, right from 1250 up to 25 centigrade temperature we are cooling in oil. So in this case, the chances of development of crack should be more. But practically what happens, due to the presence of very high amount of retained austenite, 30% retained austenite, the tool steel will not get cracked. Now from 550 centigrade temperature only, when you will cool it in oil bath, the chances of development of crack are more. Why? Because the amount of retained austenite has been drastically reduced. So second or third cycle of tempering may also be necessary sometimes to eliminate the micro stresses which have been developed during the time of tempering treatment and to avoid the procedure of cracking or a tendency of cracking. So this was about the heat treatment cycle given to the tool steel. In its typical applications, we may see here for making drills, reamers, milling cutters, lathe tools, saws, woodworking tools, dies, punch. These tools may be made out of the high speed tool steel. Now next topic is cast iron. Casting is the only manufacturing process to manufacture cast iron. That's why it has been given the name cast iron. It is cheaper than steel. It has got lower melting point. It has got very good flowability and hence castability. So intricate shapes can be easily made. There are 4 types of cast irons: white cast iron, malleable cast iron, grey cast iron and SG cast iron. SG means spheroidal graphite cast iron. A typical chemical composition of white cast iron is 2.5% carbon and 0.5% silicon. Malleable cast iron is manufactured from white cast iron. That's why the chemical composition of white and malleable will be same. A typical chemical composition of grey cast iron is 3.5% carbon and 2.5% silicon. Sg iron is produced from grey cast iron. So the chemical composition of grey cast iron and Sg iron will also remain same. So this thing we may remember. Chemical composition of white and malleable will be same because the malleable is produced from white cast iron, and chemical composition of grey and Sg will also same as far as the question of carbon and silicon content are concerned, because the Sg is produced from grey cast iron. In white cast iron, carbon will be present in the combined form, that is in the form of cementite Fe3C, while in the remaining three cast irons, malleable, grey and nodular or Sg cast iron, Sg cast iron is also known as nodular cast iron because here the graphite is present in the form of nodules or spherical shape. That's why it is also known as nodular cast iron. So in the remaining three cast irons, malleable, grey and Sg cast iron, graphite will be present. Graphite is the free form of carbon. So this is the basic difference between white cast iron and the remaining three cast irons. White cast iron doesn't find much engineering application. It is due to having poor machinability and brittleness. However, wherever more hardness and wear resistivity is required, the white cast iron may be applied. For example, in road roller, grinding ball, which is used in powder metallurgical technique to grind or to powder the material, cement mixer liner, where high wear resistivity is required. This is a typical microstructure of white cast iron. It will show perlite and cemented in its microstructure. So if the carbon content is more than 0.8, it will show perlite plus cemented in the microstructure. So high carbon steel will also show the cemented plus perlite, and this white cast iron will also show perlite plus cemented in its microstructure. But what will be the difference? Here the amount of cemented content will be very high in comparison to high carbon steel. Next cast iron is grey cast iron. It has a low notch sensitivity. Low notch sensitivity means it is insensitive to the presence of external notches, as it has flakes of graphite which, being weak and soft in nature, act as an empty space, like a kind of defect present within the material or an internal notch. So due to its typical microstructural characteristics, it will show low notch sensitivity because it itself is having a number of notches, number of empty spaces in the form of graphite flakes. Second point, it has got very good damping capacity. Damping capacity means the ability to damp out the vibrations as early as possible. So in effect, the grey cast iron has got the best damping capacity. This property is introduced in grey cast iron due to the interruption in matrix by graphite flakes. This graphite flakes seriously interrupt the matrix, so which will favor the early dissipation of vibrational energy, and thus it will impart the damping capacity to the grey cast iron. Third point, graphite acts as lubricant, which facilitates sliding of chips during the machining, and thus it improves machinability. Graphite also improves bearing properties as it reduces coefficient of friction. So for making the bearings of your refrigerators, compressors, the grey cast iron may be used. The typical applications of grey cast irons are mentioned in point number 5. For making machine bases and machine enclosures like the outer body of motors, electric motors, generators, grey cast iron will be used due to having very good damping capacity. For making lathe bed, pistons of IC engine, bearings for compressors of fridge, drainage pipe and flywheel. These applications are due to having very good castability. Automobile cylinder blocks, again due to having very good castability. ASTM flake types of grey cast iron. ASTM is American Society for Testing of Materials. So ASTM A type will show uniform distribution and random orientation of the graphite flake. These flakes which you are seeing, these are of graphite, and the remaining white portion is of ferrite matrix. So uniform distribution, the flakes are uniformly distributed and randomly oriented. They are not oriented in a particular direction. So this is called random orientation. Type B, rosette grouping. This is the result of low carbon, low silicon content. If the carbon content is less than 3.5 and so silicon content is less than 2.5, then the graphite flakes may not be obtained in the uniform distribution pattern as we had seen in pattern A or type A. So this rosette grouping is in small groups the graphite flakes are present. It is the result of low carbon, low silicon content. If the flake size is very large, like in C type, it will more severely interrupt the matrix, and this is more dangerous. It is more hard and brittle in nature. So random orientation with large size of flake. So this large size of the flake is the result of high carbon, high silicon content. If the carbon content, silicon content exceed their respective amount, then it is possible that the flake size may become very large and it is not desirable. Type D, interdendritic flakes. As the flakes in very small size, the small size flake have been concentrated along the grain boundaries and in some of the flakes inside the grain. So graphite being weak, it is not desirable to be present in such kind of form because it will severely affect the mechanical performance or mechanical behavior of the grey cast iron. And type E, here the interdendritic flakes are present with preferred orientation. Preferred orientation means in a particular direction. While in type D, the interdendritic flakes are present with random orientation. So both of these two, type D and E, are the results of fast cooling. So apart from keeping control on carbon and silicon content, we need also to control the cooling rate, because if you do not control the cooling rate, then the possibility of formation of the type D and E pattern